Hello everyone and welcome to Bobby Fischer's first ever recorded game. It comes as a suggestion from several subscribers throughout the years, but I just never got around to it. And I really was interested in what was Bobby Fischer's first ever recorded game, because I had no idea. And what I found was very interesting, and I was most impressed by not only the game but by his opponent, gentleman Dan E. Myers. I'm just going to read you a small part of his obituary, and I will put a link to it in the description below. The first link you will see is a link to his entire obituary. It was made by the Shakaguchi Society, International Shakaguchi Society. He was the president of this society, and this is a Shakaguchi flute. It's made of bamboo, and it's a very nice instrument, as I understand. But just listen to this small part. So after graduation with a degree in geology from University of Arizona in 1944, Myers was drafted into the U.S. Army, and he was assigned to work at the Manhattan Project in Los Alamos. While there, he developed an interest in magic. After studying at Harvard, Myers set off on what would become a lifetime of traveling. During a business trip to Europe, he met his wife Barbara, and they moved to Mexico with where the first children were born. In 1958, they moved to England, and it was there that Myers embarked on creating a unique wilderness garden called Lorien, with a vast collection of azaleas and rhododendrons from all around the world. Now, this is, sorry, not that, this is Lorien. This is what they talk about in the obituary. It's sort of I imagine, as I understand from reading about it, some sort of a Tolkien-themed house, something where maybe hobbits would live, but in real size. I didn't really do any research on it, but it's supposed to be in that style. And these are the flowers that they are discussing: the azaleas and rhododendrons. So I mean, pretty wild stuff. And also, they mentioned that apart from chess, Dan had many other interests and passions. He was successful as a distributor of emeralds and amethysts from Africa. He was also an aficionado of the Japanese shakuhachi flute that we've shown, and became the president of the International Shakuhachi Society. Obviously, that's why they posted his obituary very extensively. After his wife Barbara passed away, he moved to spend his final years in the Sun Valley, but continued playing chess to the end of his life. In 1996, he won the British Senior Championship, and in 2004, he won the US Senior Championship. Just the days before he passed away, he was competing in the North American Open at Bally's Casino Resort in Las Vegas. So basically, he played chess his entire life, and he played chess in the moment he died. So that's who Fischer's opponent is in this game. Also, he had a black belt in judo, and he's as I mean, I only read this obituary, but he does appear to be a most remarkable individual. So do check it out. It will be the first link in the description below. Might get you more hyped for the game, and also understand the result of the game. So let's check it out. And it's also well known that Bobby Fischer faced the King's Gambit only 2 times in his life. In this game here, the first game he ever played, the Blitz game against Dan Myers in 1953, and the second game he ever played in the King's Gambit as black was against Boris Spassky in 1960 in Mar del Plata. I covered that game. It was about a year ago. I think I covered it 6 years ago. Then I did a remake like a year ago. I will put a link to that also in the description below, as these will be the only 2 games where Bobby faced the King's Gambit. So the second link in the description below is a video to his game versus Boris Spassky. Do check it out if you haven't, but maybe check out this one first. So let's see what happened. Dan opens with e4, and Fischer replies with pawn to e5. In 1953, here Bobby was 9 years old. He still wasn't 10. So pawn to f4, going for the King's Gambit. E captures on f4, and now not knight to f3, but bishop to c4. This is the bishop's gambit, second most popular way of dealing with the e captures on f4. And now knight to f6. Fischer not interested in queen to h4 check, because well, it's just suboptimal. Knight to f6 is much better. And okay, in the days of Morphy and Anderson, this was played quite a lot, but nowadays, okay, king f1, and you really have nothing. Knight f6, knight to f3, and now white will happily challenge the black queen with pretty much every move he makes, and gain free tempi. So after bishop c4, we have knight to f6 by Fischer. knight to c3, and now pawn to c6. We have pawn to d4, and now bishop to b4. Fischer pins the knight and puts pressure on the e4 pawn. So pawn to e5, and now knight to e4, and now queen to h5. Something definitely worthy of a blitz game, threatening checkmate. And now a modern grandmaster would play d5. He would give up a pawn temporarily here, just castle to safety, and then later on you could pick up that pawn whenever you want. But okay, Fischer played castles, still a valid idea. Knight to e2, and now we have pawn to d5. Now he goes for it. We have bishop back to b3, but not putting your bishop on d3 is weird, to say the least. But b3, it's hard to say what that bishop will do there for the rest of the game. But okay, g6 by Fischer. We have queen to h6, and now okay, you should play something like f6, but it's a blitz game. You have to remember that. And in those days, you had no increment, so it was probably a 5+0. So you should play something like f4, and then once white recaptures on f4, you should play rook f7, and even give up on f6, and then just continue development, because you do not want to be behind on development. But in the game, Fischer played bishop to g4, and now comes bishop to d2. Again, not the greatest move by Myers, but here comes knight captures on d2, king captures on d2, and now Fischer should just play bishop captures on e2. The knight cannot move, so you have to capture with the king, and now f6, you're gonna bust open the center and go after that white king on e2. But Fischer played pawn to g5, and it's weird to see that pawn to g5 as black in the king's gambit is a mistake or a blunder, because it's a standard move you play. You play e captures on f4, you accept the king's gambit, and then you play g5, defending that f4 pawn. It's the most standard way to play the king's gambit with black. But here it just doesn't work because of a very specific idea from white, and that is pawn to h4. And okay, Fischer knows that Dan will open up the h file, go after the h7 pawn, but he has his bishop. He's just gonna put it on f7, on f5, go to g6 maybe, and defend the h7 pawn. However, here g captures on h4. Bishop f5 right away also isn't all that spectacular, because after captures on bishop g6, there's knight captures on f4. And now how do you deal with knight captures and checkmate? You can play bishop to e7. It's a very tricky idea. Knight captures on g6 now is impossible because of bishop captures on g5 with a beautiful fork here, forking the king and the queen. But still, white would be much better. You would bring the rook into the game, you would artificially castle queenside, and white would be better. But this was definitely the way to go. Fischer played g captures on h4, and now comes rook captures on h4, bishop to f5, now guarding the h7 pawn here, but now just rook a to h1. And here Fischer played bishop to e7, and now, incredible as it is, Dan Myers has a winning idea against 9-year-old Bobby Fischer. So feel free to pause the video and win the game for Dan while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting any of the winning moves, because there are plenty of them, but this one is absolutely crushing, and this is what the Dan played. So congratulations to everyone who found it, and that is rook to g4 check. This is what Bobby missed, because now bishop captures is impossible due to queen captures on h7 checkmate. So naturally he played bishop to g6, but now comes queen captures on h7, and this is now checkmate as the bishop cannot move. So Fischer's first recorded game is this. This is Fischer's first ever recorded game. It's a blitz game against the king's gambit, and he just got absolutely destroyed. He played a great game for a 9-year-old, and up until the point where he played g5, he was crushing it. He was much better here, but after g5 he just allowed this attack and he couldn't bounce back. But it's absolutely amazing that the two games Fischer played, the only two games Fischer ever played as black against the King's Gambit is this one and the one against Boris Spassky in Mar del Plata 1960, and he lost both of them. So I mean, Fischer is Fischer, but King's Gambit is quite an opening. I'm sure you'll agree. So do check it out if you haven't. Second link in the description below is his game against Spassky, also an incredible game. Like I said, do check it out. But yeah, and also do check out the obituary by the Shakaguchi Society about Dan Myers. A lot about his life that's interesting. So do check that out as well. But yeah, incredible guy. He really did everything in life, including defeating Bobby Fischer. Like, I mean, you really can't complain. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. First ever recorded game by Robert James Fischer. I would like to thank Paul Hinemund, Duitran, Ravishing Reptiles YouTube, Mike Wagner, and Thought Dreams for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, such as this one, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.